Yesterday we started our daily presentations talking about how we were going to be providing you techniques for developing and sustaining community online pretty much every day this week. So here's our second tip for developing and sustaining community, and that's about establishing guidelines for engagement. We usually start our online courses by providing guidelines for participation. In fact, we did that with this course, gave you an idea of what we expected and how we expected you to participate. Normally, when a class is much longer than this one, we'll ask students for feedback on those guidelines. And we may even change them depending on what it is that needs to be negotiated.
Yeah, exactly. You make a great point, Rena. One of the things I always remember to do, or try to remember to do, is when I'm teaching a class that has teams in any form, I don't care what they are, I always begin with some kind of guidelines for their participation and their engagement in the course room. And it's the same thing with community and presence. You've got to set those guidelines, and whether you get a chance to discuss them or not, to me sometimes is a moot point. You just need to make sure they understand how they need to participate and how often they need to participate and what needs to go on in the classroom.
Right. And then the other thing that we asked you to do, and one of the things that we do a lot, particularly when we're working with groups in collaborative assignments and in a collaborative fashion, is we ask them to create a group charter, essentially, and that is so that they can not only just see what we're expecting, but also so that they can talk about how they expect to interact with one another. And when they're doing collaborative assignments, they may even go so far as to determine who's going to do what, which is what we asked you to do as well, and any other kinds of concerns that they may need to be dealing with as a group.
Exactly. And one of the things that goes along with that group charter, the guidelines we set, is your ability, and you can use a charter to start this with, is developing presence in the classroom, developing both your presence and the student presence in the classroom.
And so let's talk a little bit more about how you develop presence. And what you want to do, first of all, is to be able to create an environment in which presence can flourish. So you're trying to develop a warm, inviting environment where people can feel comfortable sharing with each other on a personal level. We, in a regular course, not a course that's 5 days long, but in a quarter-long or semester-long or intensive 6-week course, whatever it happens to be, we always try to include what we call week 0, which is where we have them posting introductions, profiles, bios, have them do icebreaker activities, and have them interact with one another synchronously or asynchronously to get to know one another. And we try to, in a shorter course, it's harder to do. You can't take a whole week, but in a longer course, you might be able to do that.
Well, in a shorter course, I can see us, or I've done it myself, and I know you have, is to use that week 0 or the beginning of the course to kind of weave the curriculum or the content of the course into that icebreaker or some kind of activity to have them actually discover the first week of information or the content or whatever you're using as part of the introductory part of the course. So it's use an icebreaker experiences, introduces them to the curriculum or something like that to incorporate the curriculum into the icebreaker in week 0.
Right, or a web quest or something like that.
Yes, definitely.